Ever wonder why nobody ever told you how hard piano is? They're always talking about how easy it is. Or maybe they did and you just didn't really believe them. Because here's the truth. Learning piano is really tough. It's not you, it's the instrument. Once you stop expecting it to feel easy, you can finally enjoy the process. Let's talk about what some piano teachers don't tell you, and a few things they maybe told you that you conveniently forgot. Point one, piano is really hard. You see all this stuff on the internet, play 5 songs in 3 days with 1 chord or 20 chords or whatever. It's just not that easy. Even really gifted musicians and pianists will find it tough. The level of muscular control and integration of muscular control with mental effort that's required in piano playing is really advanced. My teacher, who's on the faculty of a major university, always told me, she says to her students, if you wanted to do something easy, you should have been a fighter pilot. We're also trying to put meaning into it and understand the overall structure and then memorize the whole thing and do it when we're really nervous. That's a lot to ask of oneself. The point is that if you're finding it hard, it's not just you. It's the nature of what it is you're trying to do. And if you want to be a master at anything, and especially piano, it takes precision and it takes sustained effort and knowing how to learn things. Point 2, why most beginners quit. Most teachers, and myself included up until a couple years ago, are not explaining exactly how to practice. You might get instructions about how long to practice this, that, or the other thing, sight reading scales, how to divide your time up, how many times to repeat it, maybe separate hands together, tap and count, that sort of thing. But not specifics about how long a section to work on, what to do when you're making mistakes, how to fix them, and how to analyze the problems that you might be facing as you're learning your pieces. Now, I've made a bunch of videos about this recently, so I will link them in either a card or the description, where I go into a lot of detail about some of the new neuroscience-based ways of learning. And since I've learned these things, my own learning has speeded up maybe double, quite a lot anyway. And a lot of my students are also learning much faster. It is really astonishing how much faster one can learn when you know these specifics of how to feed things into your brain in bite-sized pieces. And saying you're going to practice your journey for 20 minutes is not the same as knowing what's the proper bite-sized chunk, how many times to repeat things, that you need to take breaks. One thing you need to know for sure is that just repeating things is not going to help you learn them. And if that's what you've been doing for however many years you've been trying to learn, you need to change it up if you want to really improve. Repetition is not learning. You have to have it to learn. It's essential for learning, but it is not sufficient. There's a whole lot more to it. I have an intermediate level student. I'll call him Alan. At one point we were doing our workshops online, and it took him 75 tries to make a recording of his Clementi Sonatina. And he told me he was just so discouraged because all these other people in the studio were so much more advanced than him, and he felt like he was never ever going to play at their level. Let's fast forward 5 years, and I've started teaching all these new ways to practice. And now someone asked him what was he working on or what level was he at or something like that. He said, I just really enjoy it. I probably won't ever get to play exactly the way I've dreamed of, but I do enjoy practicing so much that I don't really care anymore. And this is what I'm talking about. When the learning is satisfying, it's easier to be okay with where you are right now. When you can feel like you're moving forward, each day you can tell that you're improving. You know what it is that you need to do to get better. And if you don't know, you have somebody you can ask that can help you. So there's this feeling that you can actually change things for yourself. It's very, very satisfying. The other piece about getting better at the piano is it's not just how you're practicing. It's not how long you're practicing. It's exactly what is it that you're practicing. And by here I'm talking about what kind of movements are you trying to teach yourself? Are you even able to think of whatever you're trying to learn in terms of movements, like looking at the score and thinking, oh, what movements do I need to do to execute this? So that's a whole nother level of learning and understanding that's critical for you to actually master playing well. I didn't get any instruction in that while I was doing my formal music education, or very little, in terms of what I was supposed to be physically doing. I got a lot of instruction about what it was supposed to sound like, go faster, slower, not so loud, more pedal, whatever, but not any really in exactly how I was supposed to be doing those things. That was up to me to figure it out. So the more you can get guidance on those specifics that's actually helpful, the faster you're going to improve. And if you don't have that guidance, that could be why you're feeling stuck. If you just recently started piano and you're still playing, it's 6 months, a year, 2 years, you're doing great. Most people that are beginners, adult beginners in particular, quit. I don't know the exact statistic, but it's probably above 80%, if not 90%. So if you're still hanging in there, good for you. Keep it up and see what you can do to make your progress even faster. This is also why having some kind of connection with other people who are playing piano is so important, because then you can get a sense of how difficult it is for other people. And it helps cut this feeling like you're the only one that has this problem. And you can compare solutions. You can talk about the experiences you're having on solving, whatever it is you're trying to solve. Sight reading, playing trills in Bach. How should you pedal this particular measure? Also, over time, if you're seeing people in your same community or group, you'll get a sense of how fast they're progressing. You can see when they do or do not master the challenges that they're facing. And that is also very, very helpful to one's own process and understanding that what you're doing, how your approach is or is not working for you. Are you happy with your progress? How is it that's not well said. You'll get a sense of how fast everyone else is moving, and mostly I find that people discover that everybody else is moving more slowly than they thought. Point 3, teacher-student mishmash. And here's something a very few teachers admit, that when someone isn't learning something, it's not necessarily about the student. It could be about the fit between the teacher and the student. So not every teacher is right for every learner. Each person's brain works very individually. I explain one thing to someone with certain wording that just worked great for them, and then I try it on another person, and the second person's like, huh? And then there's a whole other piece around, what kind of criticism or feedback is a person wanting or willing and able to handle. Some people, myself included, I don't do well with much really aggressive, harsh kinds of criticism, but other people like that. They want that. They feel like they need that kind of pushing. So people are different. What they need in a teacher is different. They learn differently. Sometimes a less experienced teacher or somebody who's very set in their ways may feel like there's only one way to explain it. And if you don't get it, when they explain it that way, that's your problem. Or they just keep repeating themselves, figuring eventually it'll sink in. That's not good teaching. Hopefully whoever you're working with can come up with different ways to explain it to you, coming at it from lots of angles to make it clear to you, because that's their job. They're the teacher. They're the ones that's supposed to explain it to you. You can ask questions, tell them where you're confused. You can get a nice dialogue going, and then that can help the two of you progress together. Someone who's been teaching a long time will understand this about needing to repeat things in a different way. And another thing that's very interesting to know is that our brain actually is adapted to try to forget things, because the brain takes a lot of calories, and while we were hunter-gatherers, we wanted to not use our brain so much, so then we didn't have to go find so much food. So the brain is often actively resisting learning new things. So if you go to a lesson and your teacher is repeating themselves again, don't let it bother you. That is how the brain works. You can do things to counteract that. And I do have a video about that called the 8 Secrets of the Top 1% of Piano Students, something like that, with some techniques to help you do better on retaining and integrating the things that you're learning in your lessons. Point 4, the cherry picking trap. Some teachers will just sort of get rid of the students that aren't really progressing so that their studio always looks like it's full of all these fantastic pianists and that they're a fantastic teacher. They'll drop the people that are struggling because either they don't want to make it the effort to help the people that are struggling, or they don't know how. And it's, of course, totally reasonable for a teacher to choose who they want to work with. And if they don't want to work with certain levels of students, nothing wrong in that. I just think it's important to be honest about it with the student in question and not be bragging about their results. I call that cherry picking. Same thing on the intake. Like they're only taking people who already play well. So that makes them look good because they have all these students that play well. So I feel like if a teacher doesn't want to work with someone, they should be honest. I can't help you. I tried, but I don't have what you need. I think you need to go find somebody else. Just to summarize, what matters the most in choosing your teacher or staying with the teacher you have is that they're a good fit for you, that they are able to help you progress, they explain things in a way that you understand, they're able to take responsibility for what should be their part of the learning bargain. Transparency matters more than trophies. Don't be sucked in by just the results. Point 5, the real work. So what should teachers be telling you instead? Don't believe promises that if you just follow a certain curriculum, you just play these certain pieces in this certain order, or if you just spend X minutes a day doing items P, D, Q, and R, that you will for sure progress. That's just not true. And if somebody's saying that, I wouldn't be sticking around to see what happens. Everyone learns differently at a different rate. Now, a teacher can have their methods or pieces that they like. There's nothing wrong with that. But promising that if you do these certain things, you will for sure get a certain result, it's not true. The actual progress that you will make does not depend on how much time you spend, how many repetitions you do of this, that, or the other thing. It depends on exactly what are you doing. What tasks are you involved with? How is your mind working while you're spending that time? Are you paying attention to why you're making mistakes? Are you working on the parts that are hard for you instead of just starting over at the beginning over and over and over again? Are you going slowly enough to avoid making mistakes? All these things and many, many more are important for the type of practicing that creates mastery. And again, I've done quite a few videos on it recently, and I will link them in the description. There's many, many new insights into how the brain works, and it's a wonderful thing to spend time learning because it will really help you progress more quickly. Another thing that a teacher should be doing for you is finding music that you are happy to play. Now, when you very first start, maybe the first 2-3 years, there's less stuff to choose from that people actually want to play. People always want to play what's harder. But once you get a little bit ways down the pathway, there's a lot of music for piano. And hopefully your teacher knows about all this music and can offer you lots of options because there's so much stuff for piano. I personally feel like we don't really need, especially amateurs, to be playing things that you don't like or don't enjoy. It's just not necessary. Some other things that your teacher maybe told you and you forgot are that when you're practicing, it's a very good idea to take notes. Get yourself a little notebook. Some of the people in my community are using spreadsheets. We have lots of fun pictures of spreadsheets in our group. Write down what works. I was recently getting ready for an event. I problem solved this one passage, and then a couple days later, I went back to the passage and I couldn't play it again. So the second time I got there, I tried it again. I'm like, wow, I figured out this great thing. And then it hit me. I figured this out 3 days ago. I could have saved that time. I did not need to waste my time refiguring it out. So when you make a breakthrough, you have an insight, write it down. You may not ever go and look at that page again, but the act of writing it down in and of itself will help cement it into your mind. You can also write down what it is that you did each day. That can help you plan out what would be the best way to spend your time the next day. It's really good sometimes to space out the repetitions of when you're working on what. That can speed the learning. It's another aspect of neuroscience-based practicing. So keeping these kinds of records will help you do the optimal spacing for speeding up your learning. Another couple important things to do that, especially this first one, your teacher may have told you and you sort of forgot about it, is it's very important to be sight reading, particularly if you're not that advanced, because you will be able to learn your pieces faster. You'll be able to play your pieces while you're looking at the music. You won't have to memorize them before you can actually start playing them. Also, becoming a better sight reader enables you to see the patterns on the page, so you can start to think of your pieces in terms of chunks of patterns, which is very, very powerful in terms of making your learning of the piece faster, but also more robust, like meaning you remember it better. Another thing that is a really good thing to spend time doing is improvising a little bit. Now, I'm not talking about learning to sound like Dave Brubeck. I mean more like maybe look at your piece, see what some of the patterns in your piece are, and see if you can make some music that sounds kind of like the patterns that you already have in your piece. Just play something a little bit of a variant on top of it. So for example, if I was playing, you could play I have some chords in the left hand, and I'm playing notes that go with the chords in my right hand. And if it doesn't sound good, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're just practicing having that fluency of starting to understand what the patterns are in your piece. Also, being able to make something up so people don't notice that you had a problem if you're sharing your music with other people. Another great thing to do is to play a little bit by ear every day. So pick out It doesn't matter what it is, something that you know how it sounds in your head, and try to play it on the instrument. Maybe it's just a melody. Again, this will be building up a better connection between what you hear and what your hand is doing. You're not only getting the music into your mind through seeing it on the page, you're also joining up a link between hearing it in your head and being able to play it. So it's the more senses, the better in terms of resiliency and stability of learning. Finally, a really important thing to do when you're learning is to take breaks. So that can be taking a break every 30 seconds, take a 5-second break, look out the window, count your shoelace holes, whatever. Do something, not playing. It can also mean like every 10, 15 minutes, maybe you stand up and stretch, turn around, then you sit down. And it can also mean you practice twice a day, morning and evening. Or, especially if you're really trying to learn something, practice it at night, then sleep, and then try to bring it back in the morning. And all of those breaks will really speed up your learning. It's really quite amazing how powerful those things are. Most of the learning that the brain does happens when you're not playing, actually. So that is the point of the breaks, is to give your brain time to actually consolidate what it was that you were just learning. This will really, really accelerate how fast you're learning. If something that you're working hard on, you've been spending a lot of time at it, it's not getting better, and you feel either tension or pain, someone needs to show you how to move in a way that will let you improve. And you should definitely not keep pushing. If you feel tight or pain, stop, because it's not going to get better. You don't strengthen your fingers by pushing through pain. It does not work like that. So if you can't master a certain technique or passage, you need to find someone that can show you how to do it. Point 6. Joshua. So one of my current students, let's call him Joshua, when he came to me, he couldn't touch the piano without pain, physical pain. And we spent quite a while, 2-3 years maybe, before he could play consistently without pain. And he was not that fast at that point at learning new movements. And that's an example of the fact everyone has strengths and weaknesses in learning. Some people are great at learning movement, but they're not so good at understanding theory or reading notes off the page. It's always a mix what people are strong at. Anyway, he got much better over time, and he got to where he could play pieces that he wanted to play without physical pain, but he did not like how he sounded. And there were a lot of skills that he needed to work on, like bringing out the melody over the accompaniment, not constantly having the pedal halfway down, getting more in touch with where the beat is, so that he's organizing the music more around the rhythm. So these are all things that took some time for him to integrate after he'd mastered the physicality of being comfortable at the piano. The final thing was that he was very, very hard on himself. When he played in our monthly workshops, if something didn't go well, he'd get really, really, really upset. And he would withdraw from the group, and he'd stand in the corner with like a dark cloud over his head. But over time, he started to make progress on all of these things. I started working with him on these tools about how to practice better. And now he plays at every single one of our workshops. It's not always perfect. He's not upset by it. He's enjoying talking to the other students. At our last recital, people came up to him and said that he played beautifully, which was one of my favorite moments in all of my years of teaching, because he did. It happened one step at a time, one skill at a time. And that's how it is. And kudos to this person. He really stuck with it. And why? Because he really loves music. You deserve a teacher who fits your learning style, who respects you, who gives you music that inspires you. And you deserve to be able to practice where you can actually feel yourself improving. If you've ever felt like everyone else is moving faster, I have news for you. They are not. Some are going faster and some are going slower. And you're going to be happier the less you compare yourself to other people. Piano's just hard, and it helps to know that you're not alone in figuring it out. My YouTube videos can point you in the right direction, but inside Piano with Rebecca B, we can go deeper. You'll get personal feedback, clear guidance, and a community that will help you keep growing. I'm not taking any new private students right now, but if you want my help, this is where you can find it. Come join us. Try it for free for 7 days with a money-back guarantee. Thanks for watching, and I really mean it when I say happy practicing.